Woke up early in the morning, grabbed my coffee, now I'm roaring, ready to face the day and getting shit done in business.
Welcome to our very first episode of Getting Shit Done in Business podcast by Chops Consulting. So first of all, really excited to have you join us all here. A bit of background is we had a podcast a couple years ago and we just got so busy. Like we grew from 1 person to 10 people in a couple years and we just didn't have time for a podcast. So now we're revamping, rebranding, relaunching our new podcast. But same topic. So if you listen to our previous one, this topic or this podcast is all about helping business owners thrive, learn new skills, learn about different areas of business that maybe, aren't always accessible or take you down rabbit holes that you don't have time for. So that's kind of what this episode, so this episode is all about just introducing you to that, like telling you a little bit more about Chops, who we are, what you can expect. And yeah, it's our intro episode. So while we're on intros, my name is Celine. I am the owner and CEO of Chops Consulting Ltd. Sometimes people ask all the time, why Chops? I'm just going to quickly say it's originally, back when I started this and I was like, I'm just going to be a freelancer. It was Celine Hogue Operation Consulting. Then after a month, I was already too busy and I started hiring and I hired Jacqui like a month and a half in. And I was like, okay, I can't be Celine Hogue anymore. So that's where we got Chops out of this, is Celine Hogue Operations Consulting. And my background is in, commercial real estate appraisal. It's in kind of office administration, service businesses, like statistics and economics and math, and just like running and improving businesses. I also, I ran a marketing agency for 5 years before Chops. So kind of a whole mix of working in different industries that led us to where we are now. So that's a bit about me. And of course, you see here, we have Jacqui joining us. As I mentioned, she's my OG employee. So Jacqui, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
So I've been tackling unique projects in various industries for many years, probably spanning just over 20 by now. I have worked with the broadcasting and radio side of entertainment. I have done large-scale productions such as the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver. I've worked in the nonprofit sector with the BC Recreation and Parks Association and the College of Physicians and Surgeons of BC as well. And then I've been with Chops for a few years and working on very unique projects for our clients, tackling the tech and operations needs that they have. And basically, we're making a lot of progress with a lot of our clients, and it's exciting to see how we've developed as well internally with all the same systems that we help our clients with.
Awesome. And what Jacqui didn't tell you is that she is also a Spitfire. And that's part of what really makes her thrive at Chops, is that she is not afraid to, push back on things. Like a lot of times clients will come and not in a bad way, but they'll have a very specific idea of what they want based on their surface level of problems. But Jacqui is excellent at challenging them on those beliefs and saying, well, have you considered these deeper issues and how this plan that you have will address or affect these deeper issues, and like really getting to the root of things. So I know, Jacqui, you're going to be like humble and not say all those things, but it's true. And she's absolutely phenomenal at, vetting and quickly learning and setting up and becoming an expert in new technology too, which is awesome. And last fun fact about Jacqui is that the title of this podcast and our company slogan, "We Get Shit Done," you can see it's even on my shirt, is actually from Jacqui. So when I was originally interviewing her, a few years ago, and before I hired her, in the interview, I said, like, what makes you really good at operations consulting? Like, what is your special sauce? And she just kind of looked at me and she seemed kind of unsure for a second. She's like, well, I get shit done. And it just kind of stuck forever.
Pretty matter of fact.
Yeah. That's because that is who Jacqui is. And that's also who Chops is.
Yeah. I feel like all of our team members have that unique special sauce that they bring. And between all of us, the good panel of consultants that bring their own unique experience with projects and their own skill set for whatever kind of branch they're part of in Chops. We'll get into that in just a little bit.
Yeah, well, actually, that's a good segue because, what do we do? Like, consulting is such a broad term. And I've even talked to consultants where I ask them, like, what do you do? And they couldn't give me a clear answer. They're like, well, I consult on things and strategic direction. I'm like, okay, well, what do you consult on? They're like, well, business analysis. I'm like, okay, so what does business analysis mean to you? What do you do? And they have a really hard time articulating it. So I'm going to really break down what we do, because we have three main divisions to our business, and those are operations, technology, and marketing. And we have a team of experts in each area. So, for our operations, we have people who've owned businesses, who've sold businesses, who have run businesses, who've been managers, and directors, and really understand end-to-end HR, hiring, recruiting, processes, systems. How do you make a business more efficient? There's a lot of bottlenecks usually in business. And a lot of those bottlenecks are, they're people bottlenecks, they're process bottlenecks, and sometimes they're also technology bottlenecks, which kind of brings us to our next section, which is technology. Obviously, the technology that businesses use has changed so much in the past, I was going to say 10 years, but even the past 3 to 5 years, especially since COVID, has just really exploded, the options that are available in the market, moving from server to cloud. And so we help businesses streamline their technology, upgrade to new systems. Sometimes when there's a company of, 50, 100, 200 employees, that change management piece, that data mapping and, bringing over the data piece. So we have people on our team who have a tech background, who have studied computer science, who have, masters in IT degrees. So we have kind of that technology piece as well. And then our last main area is marketing, because there's no point in building an amazing, streamlined, efficient business who delivers amazing service if you have no clients, and nobody's buying your product, nobody's hiring you for anything. So we also have an entire internal marketing team of, social media experts, SEO experts, web designers. We do branding, paid ads. And more importantly than all that, for all these areas, is that strategic piece. Because I feel like a lot of businesses out there, and Jacqui, you've probably seen this too, they just dive in, they're like, we need social media. And so then we're ones who are like, okay, why? They're like, what do you mean? Because everyone has social media. Okay, well, what are your goals with social media?
Yeah,
well,
we need a purpose.
Right? We're like, oh, well, we just want lots of leads and clients, and we've heard social's the way to do that. We're like, okay, well, social is more about building rapport and trust and nurturing relationships and, showcasing your brand and who you are. But it's, until you get a large following, you're not just going to get people contacting you because you're posting reels on Instagram. So maybe what you need is paid ads or SEO. So it's building that strategy. So that where you're pouring your money, where you're pouring your effort isn't just wasted. Technology too. We have so many clients. And I know Jacqui has some clients right now too who have done that, where they said they spent hours and hours and hours trying to find the right software, or they spent, thousands of dollars on consultants who implemented stuff. It doesn't work. It just sits on the shelf. Nobody uses it. And they're just having problem after problem because it wasn't done strategically.
Right. So
yeah.
Just a note on that. So when you're looking at a marketing strategy, it's not just the marketing tools that might be needed. There might be an operational tool needed as well, like customer relationship system. So you can actually have leads that come into your sales funnel as well. But it's not just about the social content. You want to drive people to your website as well, and have content that you break up and use strategically across platforms so that you have cohesive messaging and branding that's out there representing your company. But linking all of that together, that's the strategy that we can offer at the highest level on both sides. And we work hand in hand between our departments in that way.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, and then you get leads, and then what do you do after that? How do you onboard them as customers? How do you effectively, set scopes and communicate? How do you deliver that service? And even I know, Jacqui, recently you are working a lot with that in terms of CRMs. I know you've done a waitlisting software for a client that was lucky enough to have too many potential inquiries, but they also just don't want to lose those, and they want to make sure that they have that, bank of people ready to onboard. So what are some of the other kind of fun or interesting projects that you're working on right now or you've done recently?
So we've got a couple of new industries that we've been working with in the mining sector, but we're working on building out kind of the framework of supporting a software tool that they're developing, but they need some additional tech on their side to build out the business side so that there's systems in place that are capturing information and data that we can use later to look at, developing their software further. but also connecting with those clients and then converting them, through a training process, and then hopefully to converted sales, right? But if we don't track any of that right now, it's just living in, Excel land, which where a lot of companies have all of their information because they built systems that work in tracking spreadsheets. Absolutely, it does work, but it's not efficient. And there's no major reporting capabilities of that information. And how useful is it if you have to spend a lot of time customizing reporting? There's tools that do all that for you. And so what we do is we meet with the clients and we figure out what do they need. It takes a couple of sessions. Usually we have to get people talking, and then we have to look at the scope of what they wanted to do, what they really want to do after they talk to us, and figure out what they can do, because we'll brainstorm in some of those sessions as well. And we've got to map out the implementation steps of what systems are needed, who needs to be involved at what points, and then mapping out the actual process of who's responsible for what at what point, updating the system, and then customizing the systems as needed to capture all of that data that is going to be useful in future, whether it's just weekly reporting or monthly, but quarterly, annually, and looking for trends.
Yeah,
and it's not just with
100%.
one industry. I mean, this is something we've seen across a few different industries, and I literally have, I think, 4 clients right now doing the same type of system builds, all in different tools that do the same sort of thing, because we want their systems to integrate with other systems they already use. So sometimes consultants, we've heard in feedback, that have come in and just given them a tool because that's what they're familiar with how to using and building out, but it might not have been the right fit for them. Maybe they didn't understand the long-term potential growth of that tool with the company's needs. That's all the things that we review with the clients and map out for them as their implementation plan.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, we see lots of businesses who come to us and they're running their business on spreadsheets. And I want to be clear, I love spreadsheets. Like my original major was statistics. Like spreadsheets are excellent. But usually when people come to us, it's because spreadsheets don't always scale. What worked for a team of, maybe 5 employees, maybe 8 employees, doesn't work for a team of 30 employees, of 50 employees. You can't run your dispatching system, on spreadsheets if you have, 30, 40 people in the field. You can't track your technicians' time off, their time that they're working. You can't track, ticketing from clients. You can't, none of these things talk to each other. So, spreadsheets aren't bad, but as you grow, there's definitely a better way. And then one other thing that you do a lot of, Jacqui, is working in the legal industry.
Yes. So when we started up with Chops together, Celine, we dove in. We had a few clients that were coming to us in the legal realm. And so I became a certified consultant with Clio as well as with Soluno. Both of those are financial trust reporting systems specifically for law firms. So we learned a lot about the law industry working with our clients for the last few years. First few installs, a few users, smaller firms, and we've done larger firms now up to about 85 users, and with very complex security matrix and permissions, but we got everybody onboarded. And, we need to understand how complicated the internal structure of the department's roles, responsibilities of what the team is going to be doing in the system, so that with all that sensitive financial information, we can be quite tailored in how we manage those security permissions. Now, every system's a little bit different, but that's why we become consultants for those systems. And then in-house, we do have 2 other team members with Leap, and another financial system for law firms that also does some project management, as well as Clio does some project management too. So we've spanned across a few different tech platforms specific to the law field. And then also we've done a few QuickBooks installations for clients transferring over. So with all those systems, you can imagine the legacy knowledge, if you will, from their databases from previous systems. We help map out what needs to come over, and getting all that data migrated and quality checked on the other side, as well as onboarding all of their staff into the system, training them, giving them resources, mapping out their new workflows, because things are always slightly different in a new system. But we basically provide all that support for the clients, getting them through. And then once they go live, any little issues that come up with permissions as you're onboarding new members, people lock themselves out, all those little things. We can help train their administrators on how to be admins and power users of their systems too. So we really do work with the clients at their team level, of course, and then also their power users, admins, making sure that they fully understand the back of house system settings, reporting capabilities, so that they understand how their data is being used in that new tool.
Yeah, for sure. And there are so many tools. Like you mentioned, you work a lot with Soluno, you work with Clio. We have team members who work with Leap Legal Canada. We have team members who've worked with Practice Panther, Cosmolex. I would never recommend somebody goes to Cosmolex, but we're familiar with it because when firms come to us, they're usually on like PC Law or Easy Law or other kind of dinosaur systems. And they have all these questions. They've heard of all these softwares and they don't really know a lot about what any of them do. Maybe they've done demos with the salespeople. Software salespeople usually hide all the bad elements of a program and like purposely won't show it to you. And they also have a lot of, worries and concerns about, law society reporting, compliancy, making sure that, especially as a law firm, you have many years of data that is completely intact and isn't lost, and client information and what's going to happen, to that data. Will it be mapped over accurately? Will anything be lost? So it's really acting as the guide to help kind of make those decisions for law firms. And then as you mentioned, Jacqui, that training piece. As we all know, like I personally, when Google Maps changed their little person icon, I got mad. I hate change. Everybody hates change, especially in software. It's just kind of the way our brains work. Sometimes you see an update in the software and you're like, wow, this is awesome. This looks so much better. But when you're going from one completely different platform to another, especially if you are not incredibly tech savvy, it's stressful. It's, it's a lot to manage. It's a lot to hold in your brain. And it's a lot to try and figure out, especially, when you have billing at the end of the month, when you have to get your team out, doing their work. And so really making sure that everybody has adequate training and adequate resources and handbooks and processes, because your company already has processes. Everybody's really used to, you input this information and then you send it to that person and then they do this and then this gets sent to the client. And businesses want to make sure that that's not going to fundamentally change or change too much, right? Like making sure that we are mapping the software to their processes and not the other way around. Except for in the case where there's bottlenecks or inefficiencies, then we try and clean those up at the same time. And you mentioned you're working with, a company that is developing a mining software to sell. And so, when they want to be able to sell that software, either to individual clients to use their software, or also, if an end goal is to sell that software as a package, you need to have all of your handbooks, all of your knowledge bases and your user resources and training for these users also, really sleek and robust. And I think we're getting a little bit off topic, but it's good to talk about. It's because it really brings back the point of there are so many pieces to consider. And so what really makes us kind of a unicorn in the industry is that we do both that high level strategy and the business planning, the project planning, as well as, we map out the project. And then we also do that implementation. So you're having one team from the beginning to the end of the services, because, there are consultants out there that'll like do all of this work and charge you a lot of money to make a plan. And then they're kind of like, okay, bye, go find someone to do that. And then businesses are like, what? How do I find someone? And then they have to try and find someone who can do that. And then, they hire like an IT company, and the IT company comes in and they're like, I really don't know what they meant by this, or who, or sometimes they put on their blinders on and they just dive in and do it, exactly as they think it should be done, without seeing the bigger picture of how it's going to affect the rest of the departments or the operations. And I see that a surprising lot. Or sometimes, there's like virtual assistants and they'll like roll up their sleeves and dive right in. But most of the time they need a lot of hand-holding and management, and they don't have that high-level strategy. So what we really love to do is bring that all together. And so I'm going to kind of I don't know if this is a step back or a step forward, but I'm going to dive into a little bit about CHOPS' core values. And, but you might just be thinking like, I don't really care about your core values. But the reason I'm talking about this is just to kind of showcase how and why core values are important in a business, and also so you know like kind of the tone that this podcast is going to be setting. And this is probably like it's a whole episode on its own, so I'll go through it really quickly. Yeah. But like some of the things that are really important to us and the reason clients love us is we complete that thorough discovery and strategy. We fully understand our clients' business needs, their processes, their underlying issues. We make sure that we look under every nook and cranny. We leave no stone unturned to know exactly what all the pieces are before we start putting things together. We get their templates, their processes, and we map our solutions to the way they do things, not the other way around. I know, Jacqui, you mentioned some consultants are just like, you get a Zoho, and you get a Zoho, and you get an Asana, and you get an Asana. And I've had clients who are like, they just gave me this boxed solution that was not relevant to our business or tailored to us at all. And that's not to say Zoho and Asana are not good systems, because I've worked with both and there's nothing wrong with them. But when you just get a generic product that hasn't been customized, you're going to just have so much friction because you're stuffing all of your processes into this pre-built box. So, we're always working flexibly. We are efficient. We are quick. We don't want these year-long projects that should have been 2 months just dragging on and bleeding money. And we also make sure that we have a lot of follow-up and communication so that our clients feel really comfortable and they feel confident and they know where everything is at and they feel well trained and they feel empowered and excited about the whole process. So pretty much this kind of culminates in our core values of 1, proactive efficiency. So what that means is that when we dive into a business and their goals and their roadblocks, we are creating systems that not only solve their current problems, but also serve their future needs as well. What things are they going to need in the next 3 to 5 years? Because I don't want to implement the system and then all of a sudden they outgrow it and have to pay more money and have more change and turnover. We also focus on innovative solutions. We come up with customized solutions for our clients, which is what I just said. We don't just throw everyone in the same box. And because we do that high-level strategy and the implementation, we're also able to do this faster and more effectively than kind of separate teams. Especially when you start pulling in the marketing pieces and the sales pieces, we create systems that really go from one end to the other in like a business and their project cycle. Simplify and streamline. I know we're talking about technology and we implement technology, but I am a firm believer that always adding more and more and more tech and more apps and more things is not the solution. A lot of times the biggest results come from just using the systems that you have more effectively or more deeper or using more of the features or customizing them further. I am not just a fan of blindly throwing money at big changes in a company if it's not going to actually be as effective as it needs to be. End-to-end customer experience, we talked about this. Clear and consistent communication, supporting our client at every stage, lots of training. Clients never left with systems they don't understand or feel frustrated by, because even after a project is complete, we are there for support. And then the last one, which is, again, the podcast name, we get shit done. Our ultimate focus is delivering those results for the client, right? Having that dedication to achieving concrete, impactful outcomes for our clients. And I know I just talked a whole bunch and Jacqui's sitting there probably wanting to add a million things that I'm blabbing. But we'll do a whole other episode on this, but core values are so important in business, not only on the client side, because they communicate to your client, who you are, what you do, and how you deliver your service, but also they help you make decisions in business. They help you decide, determine who is a good fit to be working for you and on your team, because everyone has, different core values. And obviously not everyone has to just be like a cookie cutter. Their core values are your company's core values. But if someone has fundamentally different core values, they're not going to deliver that service to your company in the way that you are. And so, like Jacqui sitting here and be like, okay, these are all written about me. Because, ultimately, we need a team that delivers on these promises that we're making to clients. I know we only have a couple minutes left, but did you have anything to add on that, Jacqui?
Well, on the whole get shit done front, I think it just comes down to, I've worked in projects in various positions. So when we meet with clients and we are, talking to the highest stakeholders, the ones that hold the purse string, that make the decisions, and they have an idea of what they need and they can talk to you about what the process is, etc. But until we actually meet, not just with them, but with their team members, their supporting stakeholders of their team that's actually going to do the work, we get a far greater understanding of their actual process, what their systems are being used for, in what capacity, maybe some gaps in what integrations or systems could be doing in functionality for them. And then we can really, really dive into that scope. And that's where we go into our deep dive and our project mapping. And then from there, we dive right into the implementation side. So like I mentioned earlier, if you need a marketing strategy and all the tools that go with that, there's going to be probably a few tech pieces that go into that. So, the marketing team, the tech team work very much hand in hand. We share our meetings, we do recordings, we use all the tech pieces that we try to get our clients to use because we see how well they can be worked with.
Yeah, for sure.
In functionality, in just making sure that we can get things done as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, and literally at the end of the day, we just get our shit done.
Yeah, and actually, you brought up a good point because a lot of times people just speak to the kind of the owner, the director, the high level managers. But what I have found is that you get so much value from talking to the administrative team, the actual service or product delivery team, because, and this is especially true of people in an admin role, they do a really good job of covering up the inefficiencies and bottlenecks and redundancies. Because it's their job. It's their job to make things run smoothly. So there's probably a whole bunch of things that don't work that well that the management level isn't even aware of because their team does their job so well to hide it. But we can make their job a million times easier, a million times more streamlined. Then, their teams will have more time to actually do like more meaningful work and make a bigger impact within the company. And then kind of the last thing, because I'm like crunching up against the clock here. The last thing that I really wanted to quickly mention before we sign off is like what you guys can expect from this podcast. So it's going to be kind of a mix of two things. The first one that we're going to have a lot of is guest experts, going deep on every single area of a business. Like we talked about core values a little bit. We're going to do at least a whole episode on crafting your business's core values. We're going to have experts on SEO, experts on HR, experts on various types of technology, on sales systems, on AI, on chatbots. I already have, like my list of business contacts that are going to be talking at a really kind of deep level on all these various pieces within a business. Either some that everybody uses, like, how do you develop your processes? How do you map out your business's core systems? To things that are maybe more niche or individual, like talking about, what are some of the technology tools in the legal industry or in the accounting industry or in the real estate industry, which kind of brings me to my next kind of category of guests. And by the way, some of these guest experts, and probably a lot of them, are going to be our internal team members because all of our team have areas of expertise that they are phenomenal and super pros at. But we're also going to have experts from, various industries. We're going to have successful long-term business owners sharing their wisdom, sharing their journeys, what worked for them. So it's going to be a really good mix of topics all about business. And you know what? Some of them might even be, personal development. I have a couple ideas for things on, like procrastination, time management, mindset, self-care, mental wellness, balancing that piece as a business owner because, burnout is something that so many business owners struggle with, and juggling too many balls. I mean, like I'm not one to talk. Every time I seem to get a little bit less busy, I do a new thing. Like I'm now a beekeeper. I bought bees because apparently I wasn't busy enough. But you know what? That hobbies are also, they're for my garden. Hobbies are also a form of self-care, even if they have time.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm really, really excited to talk to so many phenomenal people and share their expertise and their wisdom with all of you listening. So if this sounds like something you might even remotely possibly be interested in, which it probably is, the last thing I'm going to say is how can you find us? So we are at Chops Consulting on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. We are Chops Consulting. We are going to be uploading all of these episodes to YouTube. We're going to be posting them on our website under our blog page with transcripts. And they're also going to be uploaded to, Spotify, iTunes, all the usual podcast channels. So wherever you are already listening to your podcast, you can register to listen to Getting Shit Done in Business podcast as well. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. hello@chopsconsulting.com. That's HELLO@CHOPSCONSULTING.com, because we want to hear from you. If you have questions, if you have things that you want us to talk about, if you have people that you think would be an amazing guest, if you want to be an amazing guest, we definitely want to hear from you. Any very final last words, Jacqui?
I got enough stuff to go do. I got shit to get done.
Jacqui's like, I got to go dive into client work. I got to get shit done. I love it. Well,
sure I'll be
thank you so much for co-hosting this very first episode. And it's going to be, the first of many that I'm excited to chat with you about.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, take care.
Teamwork hard, let's make progress. Getting shit done in business.